All right, here we are. So, getting a block, and if you have one, a belt. If you don't have a belt, you can always just hold the leg with the hands. That will work fine. So, let's make our way to our mat this morning. I'm going to start sitting in Sukhasana with the crossed legs. And then, as usual, using those arms alongside. But it's not as usual because it's right now today, which has never been before. A moment that's never been before. And maybe a little squinging. And then slowly releasing with the arms, letting the hands rest on the knees, palms down or palms up, whichever feels better to you today. Big inhale all the way to the top of the inhale and a nice long exhale. And let's do that twice more. Really big inhale, suspending at the top, and then try not to let that exhale collapse. Slowly letting that exhale release. And once more. Inhale, suspend. And exhale, slowly letting everything settle into place. And then just continue breathing, maybe a little deeper, a little more, with a little more intention than usual. And then reaching out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips, a little squeeze together with those shoulder blades, and we'll reach the arms wide and up overhead. And then bringing the hands together, base of the wrist, knuckles, fingertips drawing down. So you can be very strong here, pressing those hands together, pulling the elbows wide, and then softening that, drawing into your heart center, and also a little coming out from your heart center. And letting your eyes close. Inhale and exhale, coming a little deeper inside yourself and just noticing what's going on this morning. And maybe based on what you might have observed is going on with you at this moment, maybe setting something of an intention. I don't like as a general thing to set intentions for your practice, but sometimes there's some little thing we notice we want to work on. Sometimes it's the mind keeps going to some particular thing going on in our life that we really don't want to engage with for the next hour or so. Maybe you're noticing something in your body that's a little stiff or a little achy that you want to be mindful of during your practice. And of course, our intention is to do the best we can do at this moment, at each moment, what is serving us best. Let's take a few more breaths here. And then we will breathe those hands up the center line. They extend up, stretch the hands out, reaching wide and down. And let's come forward, extending out and over. Nice full round breaths, expanding the ribs to the side, to the back, to the front. And then generalizing from that expansion of the rib cage with the breath to the whole body. Doing a gentle expand and draw into the center. And then coming up, pulling those abdominal muscles into the spine, unfurling yourself vertebrae by vertebrae. We'll take a couple ripples here, lifting the upper chest, reaching out and over, contracting, rounding up and back. So we'll do this 3 or 4 more times, depending on how quickly you're moving. And then finishing with this rippling. And we'll all arrive back up on top of those sitting bones. Inhale and exhale, letting all that settle in your body. Changing the cross of the legs. And adjusting your hair. All right, let's take a side bend. So I'll be the mirror for the moment. Breathing through that right arm up and over to the left. And pulling that right shoulder open and let that right arm swoop a little down toward the floor. Maybe the fingertips touch the floor, maybe not. And then bringing the right arm back up. Here we are in the side bend again for a moment. And then the right arm pulls down to the left diagonal. Couple breaths here. And walking the hands to the center. Coming up, unfurling the spine. And then we'll do the same thing to the other side. Reaching out through those arms, breathing up through the left arm, up and over to the right. And then pulling that left shoulder a little more open, pulling the left arm back and down, just as far as it will go. And then breathing it back up in the side bend for a moment, and then keep going, reaching onto the right diagonal. And to the center. And then we'll ripple our way up. Let's see if we can get the other direction going. So coming up, leading forward and up with the upper chest, like you're coming up in sort of a cobra there. And then keep going. Contract and round back. And diving forward through the top of the head and coming up. And we'll do that 4 to 6 times, depending on how quickly you're going. And finishing up in the next breath or two here. And landing back up on those sitting bones, taking a deep breath. And then let's come around and onto all fours. Let's see, let me go this way. Oh. All right. And so looking for that neutral spine. A little pulling back with the hands, pulling forward with the knees, pulling the abdominal muscles up against the spine. And let's extend our right leg back with the toes tucked under. Just give a press back into that heel. And we'll retrieve our right leg. Same thing with the left. Extending the left toes tucked under, getting a little length in the back of the left leg, opening up the back of the knee. Retrieving that left leg. Now we're going to hinge our right leg out. We're going to do the one where it comes all the way up off the floor. And so let's press that right outer knee and outer shin out to the side, and then squeeze it back down. Pressing it out to the side, squeezing back down. 4 more. And then when you're finished with that, we're going to press it out to the side once more, and then swoop that leg up behind you. Lift the upper chest up, so we're doing a cow back, lifting that right foot up. So you can just hold here, or you could take the left hand to the right foot. I'm going to keep both hands on the floor today. And then we'll swing that right knee to the nose, rounding up, and setting the right knee back down. Maybe a little lift up of the base of the wrist joint a couple times. And then we'll do that on the left. So here we go, hinging that left leg out to the parallel side, lifting up off the floor, and then bringing it back down. Pressing out, pulling in, and 4 more times. And then we'll finish with that. And then we'll bring it up once more, and then continuing all the way up and over, lifting the foot, lifting the knee, lifting the upper chest, contracting the back a little like we're doing a bow pose up there. So you can keep both hands on the floor, which will be my choice this morning. Or you could take that right hand up and get hold of the left foot. And then swinging that left knee to the nose, nice round in and up. Setting the left knee down, pulling back into child's pose, picking up the base of the wrist onto the tip pads of the fingers there for a moment, and then softening the arms and hands back. Inhale and exhale, really enjoying this easeful position. And then let's expand ourselves up to downward facing dog. And walking the dog or anything else you want to do here. And then finishing up with whatever you're doing, finding the best downward facing dog you can do at this moment. Nothing moving but the breath. And then looking between the hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Lengthen out a little more. And then folding over. Drawing up through the legs. Pouring down through the top of the head. And then coming up into the front body yawn, coming up to standing. Big stretch out a little bit more. And then pressing those arms long down the sides as you lengthen up through the center line. And let's circle those shoulders up the front, down the back. Inhale and exhale twice more. And then going the other direction 4 times. One more front to the back to interlock those fingers, rolling the shoulders out, squeeze the upper arms together, pressing down through the backs of the hands, and really feel that flex of the wrist there. A nice counter pose to being on our wrist joint the other direction and all that kneeling and downward facing dogness. And then lengthen up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. Lift a little more. And coming over, pressing out through the hands, pouring over. And release the hands. Concave back, folding over. Let's step back with the right leg. So we have our left leg in front for the lunge. And really lengthen that out. Maybe you can even get a little lift of the upper chest there. You can press the tailbone down a little, not so much to bring the right knee down, but to get a little bit more stretch. And then stepping back to the plank, Holding that plank. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then let's lower ourselves to our stomach. You can lower in chaturanga. You can knees, chest, chin. I'm doing kneeling, plank, chaturanga to the floor. And then whenever we land on the floor, finding yourself in a small cobra, squeezing the elbows in and back, pulling those collarbones forward, and rolling down. And then let's bring the arms out, hands out wide across from the shoulders, standing on the pads of the fingers, or the flat hand if that works better for you. And we'll ripple up. The chin stays dropped. And then it lifts and the elbows pull wide to bring you down. Twice more. So we're trying to do a little ripple through the upper back. It might not really ripple much, but do your best. And then bring the hands just a little bit in front of you, maybe thumbs at about eye level, and we'll come up in a nice spacious cobra. So adjusting the hands for yourself, and feel like you're doing the drag back like we do in the Sphinx, reaching back through the legs. And coming down. And let's make our way back up to downward facing dog. Maybe a little cat-cow along the way. And lifting the right leg up, reaching long through the heel. Reaching a little longer. And through to the lunge. So same thing here, we're going to keep our left knee lifted and left knee more or less straight, but coming up on the tippy fingers there, see if you can pull the upper chest forward and do a little more press down with the pelvis, making that very long. And then we'll step forward. Into the concave back, folding over, coming up to standing, big front body yawn. And pressing the arms down, long down the sides, long through the top of the head. And interlocking the fingers behind. Lengthening up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. Coming over, pressing out through those hands. And release the hands. Concave back, folding over, and we'll step back now with the left leg. So we have the right lunge again. Lengthen that lunge out, and then this time we'll let that left knee come down, coming up in Vinyasa, the kneeling lunge. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And we'll just take a half circle, hands to namaste, arms come down, and then to namaste. Take a breath here, feeling that strong center, squeezing the inner thighs against the center line, a little drag back feeling of the right heel, a little pull forward from the left knee. And hands into the floor, straighten that left leg up again. Stepping to the plank through the vinyasa, any version. So I'm using kneeling plank for the undecided, and downward facing dog. And then lifting that left leg up, reaching long through the heel. Reaching a little longer. And through to the lunge. And lengthen that lunge out. And then keep going, letting the right knee come down, coming up in Vinyasa, the kneeling lunge. And circling the arms around to come right to Namaste. And then breathing here, really feeling that strong center. Even the hands can press a little stronger here, maybe. Inner thighs squeeze against the center line. Heel and knee have a little pull toward each other. And then hands to the floor, straightening up the right leg, stepping forward into the concave back, folding over. And coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Long sides down, center line up. And let's go to Utkatasana, the chair pose. So we're going to come into it doing the forward bend and coming into it from underneath instead of my usual ripply way. We will nonetheless have a nice front body yawn here. And coming forward with the straight legs. And then bend the knees, pull those hips back, and then reaching forward and up through the arms. And let's twist to the right. Wide arms. And then bringing that right arm around, hands to Namaste. And Namaste in the center, reaching the arms forward. And then we'll release over. Continuing as usual, concave back, folding over through the Vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. So I'm going to do or not myself. All right, here we are, downward facing dog. Let's lift that right leg up, reaching long through the heel. And then we're going to hover plank, knee to the right elbow. And then as we bring that leg back up, see if you can feel like you're doing that parallel leg lift. That right leg reaches around a little to the side, all the way to dog at the high fire hydrant. Hopefully your wrists are holding out. Let's try that once more, a little more smoothly. Knee to the right elbow, lifting up through the side, up and over dog at the high fire hydrant. And then press through the heels, straighten the leg out, through to the lunge, and coming up in either the high lunge or it could be the warrior one. And anchoring your left arm where it is, reaching back with the right for the left leg. Now the hard part, the right arm comes back up to meet the left. And then Namaste in the center. Take a couple breaths here, feeling that strong center, drawing in. And hands to the floor. And then we're going to move our right foot a little to the left, bring that left knee under into Matsyendrasana. And then once we've arrived here, if you can, taking that right leg down into Gomukhasana, squeezing those thighs together a little more into the center line. So you can keep standing on that right foot if this is too much for the knees. Let's reach out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Breathe the arms up. Feel like you're lifting all the way from the pelvic floor, from the squeeze at the top of the thighs. Hands together, drawing them down, really feeling that strong press and squeeze into the center. And then coming forward. Nice full round breaths. Coming up, we're going to disentangle our legs, putting them straight out in front in Dandasana. Oh, and this is where you might want your belt. And then let's bend our right leg. And we'll put the belt around the right foot, or just holding on to your right foot or somewhere along that right leg, and we will extend it up. So maybe you're leaning back a little or a lot. We're trying to come up through the top of the head and up through the foot at the same time. So finding sort of a compromised place for yourself. Really reach through that left heel, left leg long and flat against the floor. So that left leg pressing into the floor is helping you. And then we'll switch the belt into the left hand and put your right hand sort of here at the crease of the hip or maybe on the floor, and pull the right leg across toward the left, and that right hand can help try to keep your right sitting bone grounded down there. And then actively squeeze the tops of those thighs toward each other. And then adding in a little twisting to the right, pulling that right shoulder and elbow back. And then we can extend that right arm back. Maybe it's already back there on the floor, that's fine. And with that support of the right arm, extend a little more. And then maybe taking the right arm off and balance. And then we're going to come back up to the center, centering your right leg, pulling the right arm up, and then bending the right leg, sliding it out to straight, coming forward over both legs. Coming up, and then we'll just pull our legs in and come up into the forward bend. I'm going over to the other side of the mat here now. And here we are, Uttanasana. All right, let's go right to the chair pose from here. Bend the knees, pulling the hinge of the hips back. So take a moment with those fingertips on the floor, maybe your shins, really pulling back in the hips. And then reaching forward with the arms, two long parallel sides. And then we'll twist to the left. Nice wide arms to start. Big reach around, bringing that left arm around and hands to Namaste. And Namaste in the center. Reaching forward again with the arms. A little deeper into your chair, and then releasing over. Continuing as usual to downward facing dog, concave back, folding over, vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. All right, so hopefully we're all here in downward facing dog. Let's lift the left leg up. And then we're taking left knee to the left elbow, hover plank. And then pressing that left leg a little more to the side, carrying it up and back, all the way to dog at the high fire height. And then let's do that once more. To the hover plank, left elbow, out to the side, up and over, dog at the high fire hydrant. And then straighten the left leg out, pressing out through the foot, through to the lunge, coming up in the high lunge or the warrior one. And keeping the right hand where it is, left hand to the back of the right leg. And then bringing the left hand back up to find the right. Namaste into the center. Taking a few breaths here, feeling the strong center. And then namaste into the floor. Moving your left foot a little, pulling the right knee forward, or however you need to get here. And we land in that Sandrasana, where you could stay, or bringing that top leg down into Gomukhasana, the cow face pose. Squeezing the legs in. All right, and then let's reach out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Breathing the arms up. Feel like you're lifting from the pelvic floor all the way up here. Hands together and drawing down the center line, squeezing everything into the center line, making this a very active pose. And then we'll pour forward. Inhale and exhale. And coming back up. Let's disentangle the legs, putting them straight out in front in Dandasana. And getting our belts, and that's the left leg. Bending the left leg, belt around that left foot, and we will extend the left leg up. And so negotiating with your spine, so maybe you're rounded here. We're trying not to be, but maybe that is where your body is, but it has an intention to get long and straight. And our top of our head and the sole of our left foot has an intention to get pointing straight up to the ceiling. And that right leg is reaching long and flat against the floor, helping support us. And then we're breathing deeply and easily. And then belt into the right hand, putting the left hand on your hip into that crease of the hip joint. Or if you need the support, you can put the left hand on the floor. And then pulling that left leg across the center line, using that left hand to help keep the left sitting bone anchored down. Squeeze those inner thighs, the top of the inner thighs together on the legs. And then we'll take a twist to the right here, pulling that left shoulder open, pulling the left elbow back. Twist to the left. I think I just said right. And then we can take the hand behind and let it come on the floor and give yourself a little extra press and lift using that left hand. You can stay there, or maybe you want to go for a little more balancing, taking the left hand off. We'll keep squeezing that left leg across. And then coming back to the center, bringing the left leg up to the center, the left arm up. Taking that left leg down, sliding it out straight, coming forward. Oh, you can always use your belt there around the feet if you want it. Maybe you already thought of that. And coming up. Oh, let's take those legs back to Baddha Konasana. Feet together, knees out to the side. Pressing down with the elbows, coming forward. And we have not done much stretching out the inner thighs so far. And then coming up. Bringing those legs in, coming back up into the forward bend. Taking a few deep breaths here. And coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Pressing the arms down, long sides down, center line up. All right, let's do the tree pose here. Sort of a big contrast to what we were just doing with the squeezing across. Now we're going to be pulling out, though there's still that squeezing into the center happening. So I'm not going to be the mirror here. It's the front. All right. Hopefully I won't wobble too much, so just don't look at your screen while you're doing the tree pose. All right, let's bring our right leg up. Then we're going to use that squeezing in, those tops of those thighs squeezing in, as a not squeezing in this. Reaching out through that right inner thigh, reaching down through the left into the floor. And then bringing that right foot down. And we'll do the same on the left. Bringing the left leg up. So we have that squeezing in at the top of the inner thighs, but then the not squeezing in. The extending out. And bringing that left leg down. And so here we are at the top of our mat. And let's make our way over. Big inhale up. And exhale, diving over. Continuing as usual to downward facing dog. Concave back, folding over, vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And let's lift the right leg up. And we're going to do that same hover plank to the right elbow and up to fire hydrant dog. Hover plank, right elbow, lifting up and over into fire hydrant dog. Extend that right leg straight. Stepping through to the lunge. Coming up in either the high lunge or the warrior one. I'm going to warrior one this time. Just breathing. Of course, it's not just breathing. Every breath renewing your presence in the pose. Every breath refining the pose a little. And then let's go forward on a nice long diagonal. Feeling that line out through the left foot. I'm going to take this up to supported warrior 3, though you can do balancing warrior 3 on the way if you want. Fingertips to the floor, maybe to your block if it's handy. Trying to get that left leg parallel to the floor. Long through the top of the head. And then if you're balancing fingertips to the floor, we're going to touch the left toes down. So bending that right leg, feeling a little pull back in the hinge of the hip joint as the left toes touch down. Pressing back up to the ceiling, warrior 3. Let's do that twice more. Reach and hinge back, pressing up, and then once more. And then the next time we bend and come down, I'm going to turn to face you. We're going to reach that left leg behind and into the albatross position. So my right standing leg there is bent. I've pulled that left foot to the side. It's about equal across to the right leg. And then a little twist to the right in the hips to really squeeze the tops of the thighs together. And coming up, hands in namaste, find that strong back. And then out to the parallel arms, giant wings. One little different thing here, let's twist right, bringing the left hand down and the right arm up. And then bringing that right hand down, put the left leg back next to the right where it belongs. Oh, thank goodness. Deep breath. And then let's take a big step back with the left leg and turn to the elephant rider. Not squeezing those inner thighs. And yet at the same time, there's that drawing into the center. Pressing the feet into the floor to come up. Three-pointed star. Expand there a couple breaths. Pressing the arms down, feet to parallel. So we're going to rotate the left leg out, leg toward the back of the mat, and go into the warrior two on the left. So we give that right leg a little rest. It gets to be the long extended leg now. Pulling between those inner thighs. And so here we are facing the back of the mat, maybe looking over the left hand. And can you really feel your eyes in the back of your head looking over the right hand toward the front of the mat? And then dancing warrior. Windmilling down to the floor, and then keep going through the wide leg forward bend, taking a breath or two here. Turning back to the right lunge toward our front of the mat, and then we're going to do that albatross thing once more, not the whole touching down. So from your lunge, just bring your left leg up to supported warrior three for a moment. And then stepping that left leg out to the side. It gives you a little twist to the leftness, and then pull it back to the right, squeezing the top of the thighs. Coming up to namaste, hands finding that strength, arms out to the side. Well, of course, you could always keep your hands on the floor. And then twisting to the right, bringing the left hand down, the right arm up. And bringing that right hand down. Retrieving your left leg next to the right. Couple breaths here, maybe a little bend in the knees. And then we will make our way back to downward facing dog through a vinyasa or not. I'm going over to the other side of the mat. And then we'll all meet up in downward facing dog. Yes, have to do all of that around on the left. Not have to, we are going to get to do all of that around on the left. All right, downward facing dog. Let's lift that left leg up. And then hover plank knee to the left elbow. And lift it to that leg to the parallel side, up and over to dog at the high fire hydrant. And then pressing out through that left heel, straightening out the left leg. Through to the lunge, coming up in the warrior one or the high lunge. And then we have an opportunity to breathe, to catch up with ourselves, as it were. Or to call ourselves back if some of our self has moved a little too far forward. Only thing happening is warrior one right now. And then a long diagonal reach forward. Feeling that right leg and coming up to the warrior three. Maybe balancing or maybe supported warrior three right away. And if you're balancing, bringing those fingertips down to the floor. All right, so now we have the touchdowns. Bending that left leg, a little pull back in the hinge of the hip joints, right toes touch down, pressing back up flat to the ceiling. And then we will do that twice more. Extending down, extending up. And once again. And then we pivot around to face front on this side. As we bend that left leg, we're going to pull the right foot over to the left into that albatross, which usually makes our upper body twist a little right. And then pulling that back, pulling that right hip a little bit more to the right, squeezing the tops of those inner thighs, holding on tight. And then engaging the back and core a little more. Hands up to namaste. And then reaching out wide, unfurling your albatross wings. Then we're going to add a twist to the left, bringing the right hand down, left arm up. And then bringing that left hand down and retrieving that right leg back next to the left. Deep breath or two. And then we will step back with the right leg and into the elephant rider. Ah. And we'll straighten up into the three-pointed star. Pressing the arms to parallel, turning the feet to parallel. So we're going toward the back of the mat with our warrior two. So the right leg rotates out and into the warrior two. Stretching out a little more, unalbatrossing. As you're looking over that right hand toward the back of the mat, maybe use this opportunity to feel our back leg a little more, the left arm, the left leg, or the whole left side, by feeling like there's eyes in the back of the head, still looking to that front of the mat, back by your left leg. And dancing warrior, bringing the right arm up. And a big windmill down, pivoting all the way back around, and maybe a little pause at that wide leg forward bend, or you can always take a longer pause. And then turning back to our left lunge. And then from here, making our way back up to that supported warrior 3. And then we'll do our albatross with the twist once more. Big inhale and exhale, bending the left leg, pulling that right foot out to the left, and then a little twisting left at the top of the hips, squeezing those upper thighs in. And hands up to namaste and out to the side. Remember, hands on the floor is fine. And then we'll twist to the left, bringing the right hand down, the left arm up. And bring that left hand down, putting the right leg back next to the left. Couple deep breaths here. You can have a little bend in the knees if you want. And then we'll all take a big bend in the knees to sit down on the floor. Baddha Konasana. Feet together, knees out to the side. Holding on to the ankles or shins, coming forward, pressing down with the elbow. And coming up, bringing those legs in. Let us make our way down to the floor. So you can take a deliberate roll down or any other means. Here we are on the floor. And let's get our block. I'm going to do the block under the sacrum for a few breaths. Lifting up, block under the sacrum, and extending the legs out. And so for the moment, there's a little of that squeezing in with those inner thighs, even if the legs aren't quite together or touching, drawing into that center line. Lengthening through the pelvic floor out the top of the head. All right, so we're going to do some bridge poses with the figure 4 leg. So you can use the block a little, a lot, or not at all. So let's all bend our knees. And we're going to come to the bridge pose. So you can take the block out, come up to the bridge pose, maybe use the block on a little higher height for support in the bridge pose. Or kind of both. Like when I put the block on this height, I can still lift a little off the block. So I have it there as kind of backup, as it were. But I can also lift up off it and do a little bit more work there. All right, so finding a bridge pose in whatever version with the bent legs, feet press into the floor, lifting up. And then we'll bring that right leg across the ankle over the bottom of that left thigh and press up even more. And so what's nice with the block is that block can help you feel your pelvis really level if you're still on the block there. All right, and then pulling out through the right knee. At the same time, squeezing into the center. And then we'll switch sides, coming down, maybe all the way to the floor, maybe not. All right, then lifting back up into the bridge pose. And we'll cross the left leg over. Putting that left ankle down as close to the right knee as you can. And then pulling out through that left inner thigh out the left knee. Trying to keep the pelvis level, trying to breathe. And then there's also a squeezing into the center. And then coming down. And we'll all make our way all the way down to the floor. Oh, landing on the floor. Let's pull those knees up into the chest. And then out to the happy baby, or maybe the straight leg happy baby. Wherever we are, breathing deeply, softening the face and the jaw. I think this was really a 2-hour class I had a plan for today. And then let's finish with this, folding those legs back in. So if there's anything else you would like to do before Shavasana, go ahead and do that. Or maybe we're ready for Shavasana. And if you're coming into that Shavasana, a little tuck in with the shoulder blades, long through the top of the head. Finding your arm position for today. But sometimes it's more fun not to choose and just do the traditional form, backs of the hands on the floor, a little away from the sides of the body. And inhaling and exhaling, letting go, melting into the floor. And then breathing back into your body, into the room, moving the fingers and toes, getting the circulation going. Stretching the arms up overhead. And then bending the knees, gently making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with that long and spacious spine. Taking a few more moments sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.